What is up, everyone? Simplode here with Off Meta Bros, and I am excited. Today is the day I can finally showcase my updated 10.0 Arlong build. Here's his bad boy. I've already put a video on the channel for my 9.0 profile, but with all the new cards and the new text that came out with 10, might as well go ahead and update this for you guys. I've done a lot of sim testing with this new build. I've actually been doing pretty well with it, and I have some new techs in it that will help against some of the meta leaders for this set. So if you guys do not know, with Arlong, it's an OP3 leader. Dawn ×2. When attacking, you can rest one more Dawn, and then you can play a character card with a trigger with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. So essentially, for 3 Dawn, you can play a 4-cost character. Very effective. I kind of run more of an aggro build with him, and you'll see that with the cards that I have. But I also thought today maybe I can showcase the Arlong playmat that my buddy got me a while back that I usually use at locals when I do play him. So put him up there. Starting off, of course, I do have still 4 of the 4-cost Arlong characters. It's a great card to have. On play, you can trash a card from your hand, and then the opponent's leader cannot attack next turn. So it definitely helps maybe against Zoro, slowing him down a little bit. And obviously off of trigger, you can rest one of your opponents with a cost of 4 or less, again helping with some of the aggro decks that you might face at locals. Run 4 of them. Then I do run 4 of the Charlotte Crackers, still a great card to have. Dawn ×1, if you have less life than your opponent, then this character gets a plus 1,000 additional power, and then also double attack. So once you put this card down, your opponent may need to start focusing on your board rather than life, especially since it can be kind of quick games with Arlong, because especially against aggro like Zoro, they're going to want to go for life quickly. But when you have characters like this down the field, it can save a swing against your life, because they're going to want to focus on this, because this is very deadly, especially if you have less life. Next, adding a new card from 10 is the Basil Hawkins. Definitely a great card to have. If you guys don't already know, on KO, the opponent has to trash a life. Of course, it doesn't work with trashing him, but definitely on KO by either effects or by just KOing in battle, the opponent has to trash a life. So I usually like to throw this down maybe on turn 2 or 3 with my leader ability, because you can still use it, but it doesn't have a trigger. And if you also need cards later on in the game, if it's in your life pile, you can draw 2 and trash 1 off the trigger. So I'll run 4 of those. Next, pretty standard, 4 Kikus. Don't really have to say much about this, because this card's been out for a while. On KO, if your opponent has less, or at least 3 or less life, then you can get an extra life out of it on KO. So I'll always usually end up just letting it go, unless I know it can possibly go for game. So let your opponent swing into it, get an extra life out of it, and if the opponent has 3 or less life, you can play it out from your life as a trigger. I do run 4 of the blocker Sanjis rather than the Brûlé blockers, the 1K ones from the Big Bang Pirates, mostly because of his power. So if I maybe can possibly save a 5K swing, you know, I can block, pitch one if I need to, or I kind of, if you want to, you can use him to attack. Maybe go for game, get an extra 5K swing and plus them. And then off a trigger, you can always trash 1 card to play it from trigger, and also Arlong's ability. As you can see, most of the cards in this deck are trigger base, so I can use him off the Arlong ability, along with knowing pretty much guaranteed every single time I draw life, I have something good coming. I do run 2 of the Nekos, mostly just because of the potential where I need to maybe attack a standing character, maybe a, let's see, what are some of the new ones that came out? Tashigi, or maybe a Smoker. the new Banished Smoker, so always you can end up using it. Maybe another character or another opponent's using Jewelry Bonnie, the one that you can attach one to cycle cards from your hand, which you'll see here in a second. So this is also nice to have, and I'll put 2 of in there still. Maybe you'll want to change it in the future, but I still think it's a pretty good card for now. Just like I mentioned earlier, I do run 2 of the Jewelry Bonnies. I don't usually swing with her unless I need to. Maybe clear a board, but it is attach 1 Dawn, and if I end up taking a life from the opponent, then by an attack, sorry, then I can draw 2 and then trash 1 from my hand. So it's a nice way to cycle cards if you need to. Maybe get some 2Ks in your hand if you need to start blocking some attacks. Now we start getting into the fun cards here. I do run 3 of the Onamis, mostly for the trigger effect. Maybe if I want to, if I know that they don't have any blockers on the field, the banish ability can help, maybe with your leader or some other higher cards on your field. So I do run 3, again, mostly for the KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5, to help with maybe some of the aggro decks that you'll face, help clear the board a little bit. Although I can't play her from the leader ability, I still do run 5 of the Namis, obviously for the trigger effect, but also it's a really nice 5-drop if you need to start clearing boards, especially maybe some blockers near the end game, and if you need to get an extra card from your, draw an extra card off the on-play effect. New to the set, I do run 3 of the Smokers. Shout out to Jaws, he recommended this. It was definitely a fantastic ad for a couple reasons. One, Banish effect. I mean, you can't really go wrong with a Banish effect because they don't draw after their hand, off life. And then you can also activate main every single turn. You can gain 1 back Rested Dawn. So you can play something out, get it back if you need to. You can only do it once per card. So you can maybe have 2 out and you get 2 extra Dawn out of it if you need to use it. Something that you could use this on is maybe once you're on a 7 Dawn turn, you can play her out, use the ability, get 1 more back, and then you have 3 Dawn to use on Arlong's ability. So right then and there, it's a great card to have, especially if you're going first, and also second as well. And when you have a Banish card on the field, it obviously makes your opponent think twice about going for life rather than going for a character if she's rested. So it's a nice 7k swing attack, along with it gets into the mental game of the opponent because they're going to want to go for this rather than your life. Adding back into the deck after last set, I am going to run 2 of the Hody Jones for endgame. Was running 1 just in case, but I think 2 might be helpful just to actually see it when you're playing. I don't really play him early on. I only play him if I really think I'm going to go ahead and end game after this, because you do get to rest blockers if you need to, along with you get an 8k swing rush. Something a lot of people don't realize is that you can still use his on-play ability even if you don't have any life. As it does say you have to you can rest 2 of your opponent's characters and then add up to 1, or add the top card of your life to your hand when doing it. But if you don't have any life, you don't obviously have to draw it. So that's why it's great at the end game, because you can just use its free ability without having to wasting a life. So I run 2 of him just so I can see it. And now getting into the 2Ks here, make this easier. I do run 4 of the Capones. Like I say in every video I take, don't really need to say much about him. He is a guaranteed every single time you run a yellow deck, you got to put 4 of them in there. Obviously off the trigger, make sure another opponent's character cannot attack for that turn, so it can maybe save you at the end. I do run 4 of the Frankies. Also a great card. Worst case, you know you're doing bad if you actually have to play this out for leader ability. The opponent will know you have a bad hand, so I usually don't do it, unless of course I have to. But also, at the end there, trigger, draw 1 card, then if you have 1 or less life cards, you can play it to get an extra body on the board. This is gonna make me bad if I don't end up here. Let's see, making this a little bit more uniform. There we go. Then some people question this, but I'll tell you why I run 4 of the 2K Brulees instead of maybe some other 2Ks that have come out. I like it for cycling my own life. So off the trigger, it says look at the top one card of your opponent's or your life cards and then place it at the top or bottom. So I like this to manipulate my own life. Maybe I know the opponent doesn't have 3 or less life left, so I know that maybe I shouldn't have a Kiku at the top. I should put it at the bottom just in case. But for the main reason, same with Capones, you can put those at the bottom as well. So if you know that's coming next, put it at the bottom to help save you stuff at the end, but also for this guy. So for the 0 cost events, I'm only running 3 of them in here because I think 4 is a little too much. But off the Brulees, let's say you see a 0 cost event at the top, put that sucker at the bottom. It's no questions asked. So that's why I run 4 of those Brulees instead of some other 2Ks that are out there. I think it's a very underrated 2K. Highly recommend running it in this deck. But there you have it, guys. That's the new Arlong build for OP10. Like I said, I've had a lot of success on the sim with this, and I am looking forward to taking this to locals to see how it matches up in person. And of course, if I need to, I will update that accordingly. And you guys can check the description below. I'll have the sim deck list there, so you can just copy and paste and try it out for yourself. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for the continued support. We're growing the channel a lot more than what we thought, especially since all of us have full-time jobs. So I might be a little bit more sporadic, but we're going to start filming some off-meta matchups here soon. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think about the build, and I'll see you guys real soon.